this area was completely different back in 2003. It's called the Steamweedle Port, and if you leveled up in the deserts of Tanaris back in the day, you probably remember it as a small questing hub. But it was supposed to be so much more, because this is how it actually looked in the game's alpha. Now, visually, it may not seem like there's a lot here, but if you take a closer look, you'll start to notice some things that hint at what this area was supposed to be. For starters, the layout is completely different, and you might notice some buildings from other port cities like Booty Bay or Ratchet. Like this building here, that's used as the bank in Ratchet and even has the small countertops that the banker NPCs stand behind. Okay, but why would they put a bank in the middle of nowhere? That doesn't really make any sense. And you're right, it doesn't. Until you look at the dock, or rather, the boat that's attached to it. Now, because the game was still in alpha, developers would use certain objects to mark where things would go. And they used this boat, along with a small plank attached to the dock like this, to mark the areas where ships would sail and drop players off. In fact, the same combination of objects is used to mark the spot on the docks in Ratchet where the boat comes in to drop off players from Booty Bay. And do you remember what's also in Ratchet? The bank building from earlier. So if you put 2 and 2 together, it would actually make sense why they would have a bank in Steamweedle, because it looks like they intended for that area to be a neutral port city, just like Ratchet or Booty Bay, which would also explain why it's so much bigger than what we saw on release. I mean, according to the lore, it's owned by the same cartel that owns all the other neutral port cities, and it even matches the cartel's namesake. Now, aside from the lore, apparently this port was supposed to take you to the Goblin Isles of Kazan, another area that was planned for the original release. But the developers ultimately decided to scrap their plans for Kazan, and with that, they also decided to cut their plans for Steamweedle, which led to the much smaller version that we saw on release. But what do you guys think? Would another port city have been a good thing in the release? Would you guys like to see this in maybe Classic Plus? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if there are other areas in the game's alpha or just places in general that you may have heard about, put those in the comments too. I think this would be a cool idea for a series, and I would love to hear what you guys would want me to explore first.